everyone. We are back to, what's the name of the show again, Melvin?
The fire you can't put out.
Well, I always want you to say it because you sound a lot better when you say it than I say it.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think we are pretty much down to this once per week format. So I guess it's okay to say that right now today is, when we tape the show, today is the 12th of January 2013. So this is the show for this week. And I probably need to do a bunch of housekeeping stuff first. I think I need to explain a little bit what's happening, and let's explain a little bit what this Open Sky radio thing is.
Let's address that.
Yeah, I know it's a bit confusing, not to me because I read and speak Chinese, right? But yes. I know it's a little confusing when you go to the Facebook page, which is another thing to talk about, and you click on the link and you see a bunch of Chinese. They are an online radio station, and they primarily serve Cantonese-speaking listeners in the U.S. and in Hong Kong. And I know them very well because they distribute other shows of mine. And when I approached them to distribute this one, they graciously says, "Yeah, sure, we'll do it." And they are, they're being very nice to us, and they're basically doing this for no cost to us. So, and I don't know if our listeners actually listen to shows from other online radio stations. They're basically like something like a Twit, This Week in Tech. They are like that. They are a online platform that offers a lot of different shows. So they're basically that, but because they serve Chinese speaking and Chinese listening listeners, their website has a lot of Chinese in there, and they are in the process of getting more English speaking shows. So yeah, so I know it can be confusing, and it looks like something that the listeners of ours are not familiar with. So I just want to address that, number one. The other item is, of course, we have a Facebook page. You can find us at www.facebook.com/ let me say this
fire
right.
You can't
put actually,
out.
it's the actual page is facebook.com and it's facebook.com/TFYCPO. Say that again. Say that again. Yeah, say that again. It's www.facebook.com/TFYCPO. That stands for, again, Melvin.
The fire you can't put out. The acronym doesn't quite flow like the show name, but it's very important.
Yeah, don't try to pronounce that. It will get you banned in 37 states.
Which may not be an altogether bad thing.
Right. So yeah, go, if you listen to our show. If you listen to our show, give us a like at Facebook, and tell your friends and family about us, and especially the conservative friends.
Share us with your conservative friends.
Well, we're trying to. Well, so far, I mean, this is episode number 3. I think the first 2 we are very gentle. We are aimed at conversations and being nice and talk about issues. We're not. I don't think we are. The goal is to yell at people. So right. I don't think we did that in the past 2 shows.
I don't think so.
And also, we have an email address. Our email address is TFYCPO@gmail.com. Let me say that again. It's TFYCPO@gmail.com. So if you hear something that you like or you don't like, or you want us, if you have things that you want us to cover, send us an email. We'll figure it out. So Facebook page, email address, and also, yes, Melvin, there's somebody we want to thank.
Oh, yes, we want to thank Tom Dwyer of Tom Dwyer Automotive in Portland, Oregon. We contacted Tom. Tom was a huge supporter of KPOJ and their progressive format before they got shut down. And Tom shared us on his Facebook page. So we want to send a personal thank you out to Tom Dwyer of Tom Dwyer Automotive there in Portland, Oregon. If if you live in that area and you're listening to our broadcast, be sure to drop into his business. I have done so myself, and I found his staff to be absolutely professional. They'll help you out and get you out the door.
Right. So, because, I think last couple of times we mentioned that the progressive radio station here in Spokane was gone. So a lot of us just scramble all over the place. And one of the places that a lot of us went to, I think, to stream shows and to just keep in touch with people is KPOJ. And now that they're gone. And Tom Dwyer do a lot of promotions and commercials on basically a huge KPOJ support. Big support to KPOJ. So, well, anyway, okay, so I think that's all the housekeeping stuff we need to do. Hey, it's already like 6 minutes. Awesome.
Let's start the fire.
Okay.
Well, before we start, I just want to, can you indulge me in launching into a tangent real quick?
Launch into it, brother.
Already. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm reasonably educated. I have 2 master degrees, if you want to know. And this is one of these things that I always think is true, is that the more you know, the more you figure out you don't know. I don't know why, and there are some talk show hosts out there, or people doing various things that are very arrogant. They think they know everything. And, sometimes when I listen to talk shows, I really hate their attitude. And I think, well, it's not, I don't think it's just because we don't agree with him, but sometimes some of the attitude that Rush Limbaugh brings into a show, I really, really dislike. He I don't know if he still do it now, but he always say feel like he have half his brain tied behind his back or something. That means, he has talent, a lot of talent on loan from God. As in, he's so smart, he doesn't really need to use all of his brain power to talk to us, to fight us or something. And I figure, well, that's really the smarter you are, the more you know. Then you would know that you shouldn't be arrogant because, hey, there are even more out there that you don't know.
Right.
And why do I want to talk about that? Because, well, we have been talking about doing this show for the past a couple of months, and we're actually doing it for maybe a month. And since then, we are news junkies. We read this, we read that, and we read a lot of information already. But because we have to do the show, I think all 3 of us are extra prepared for stuff, and we study stuff. We have to read more, and I really think that learning itself is always a humbling experience because the more, like I said, the more you read, the more you figure, wait, I have a better understanding on the specific thing that I'm reading, but there are a lot of other things out there that I don't know, and I want to read up on that. And once you go there, and then you figure out, well, there are even more that I don't know. So I know a lot of, radio hosts out there, they want to put up this front as in, they know everything. They can, they argue with people, they argue with listeners, and they know everything. I think we are not that. Well, number one, we don't pretend that we know everything, and we can never be those people who know everything. So Does that, so far, am I making sense, or am I just...
Yeah, you know what, you are making sense, and I wanted to let you to finish because I have a habit of interrupting.
I don't want our listeners to...
I listen to right-wing radio still with some regularity, and Limbaugh has not changed a bit, and it's absolutely all about affirmation. I called the Sean Hannity show, I would say probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, why did you do that?
Sean was doing a subject. He said, what can we do to help the troops? The war had just started, and he said, what can we do to help the troops? And I called into the show, and I said, I think we should pay for the war. I was hung up on by his call screener. See, a lot of what happens in talk radio today is they're really just looking for affirmation. by and large, the only talk show host that I listen to that I actually enjoy and never ever miss is Tom Hartman, because on his show he actually has debates with people. When I listen to right wing radio, if you're not calling to affirm what they've said already, then they don't even take your call, and I can attest to that on a personal basis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what drove me to think what I just said, in the wasted everybody like 4 or 5 minutes. No, it happens on our side too, because when I listen to, I never feel that from Tom Hartman.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel that from Randy Rhodes.
Yes. Randy Rhodes.
Sometimes I feel that from Ed Schultz.
I feel
I cannot listen to Randy Rhodes, for example.
And we are a lot compared to them. We are like nothing, right? Our small operation is so small, right? So yes, in terms of resources, in terms of research resources, we are it. We are us. So on that level, we don't even compare with them. I understand that, but I don't want our listeners to think that we pretend to know everything, and we are not that. So we are. We basically want to just present a platform for some discussions.
We're trying to start a conversation.
Issues. Yeah, and yeah. Okay, so I guess that's my tangent, and I just want, especially, I know we have friends who listen to the show that agree with us, but those who happen to listen to the show that who don't agree with us, I don't want them to think that we are one of these, really smart. Personalities that know everything. And,
those who listen to the show who disagree with us, you can address your hate mail directly to Melvin, and I might even personally answer you.
Well, I mean, we're not aiming. Yeah, go ahead.
They can post comments on the Facebook page.
I don't think we can do that. I think I have that turned off. But
you do.
I'm going to think
can't.
send us emails. And then I'm going to think about whether I don't want to get into it, but you guys get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
We are kind and gentle, and we want to.
That said, I didn't mean to be arrogant a minute ago about Randy Rhodes, but it's the know-it-all attitude that really does turn me off, and it's one of the reasons I feel that some progressive radio has not served its audience well, because I don't think, this is just my bias, but I don't think progressives really, by and large, are people who need to have somebody else do their thinking for them.
Right.
I don't think that's arrogant. I think that's pretty much right on. The best thing I've heard describing, certainly the difference between conservatives and those more left leaning is really when the conservatives, and I listen to all the damn shows. It seems to me that they wake up in the morning, they have a list of talking points, they work off of it. Most of them do, and they all stick to that list. And when you go over to the Democrats, they're arguing amongst themselves. It's a circular firing squad, if you will, firing at each other. And over on the conservative side, they're really marching in lockstep with one another.
Well, politically, I think, yes, you can argue that it's really harder to organize progressives. Because we are.
It is herding cats.
Because by default, by default, we accept. I guess our opinions are more diverse.
We have a larger tent, and so those opinions are going to eventually clash. We don't all think the same thing.
Right. So okay, so I guess let's end this tangent. So I hope everybody understand what I'm saying. We're nice and gentle. We just want to talk about stuff.
Nicely done. By the way, good tangent.
We're good enough. We're smart enough, and doggone it. People like
us. Yeah.
Here, if I may finish that tangent, we are trying to start a conversation. We're not trying to tell you what to think.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
New subject.
Right. Okay. So I think there are a lot of things bothering everybody this week, and I think one of these things is let me think, an insurance company named AIG.
Oh, there's so many of them.
Right. Now, first of all, let me say this first.
Okay.
the whole financial situation is a huge topic. And right away, I got to say, there are a lot of really complicated stuff in there. Again, we don't pretend to know everything. But I guess what we're aiming at is from our level, as in just a regular person, trying to make a living, I guess. When we look at financial institutions that is ridiculous to a point that it's too big to be sued or too big to fail, how we would feel, or how we would understand this such a ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
So, I guess can somebody tell a little bit of what happened this week?
Let's do it like this. AIG, one of the biggest insurance companies in the United States, decided that they were going to sue the federal government over the bailout that they got in 2008, which saved their company.
Well, actually, they were talking about it. They didn't.
Well, the lawsuit, in my opinion, is still going to go forward. Now, the lawsuit was initially brought up by their former CEO and the shareholders, saying that irreparable harm was caused to their shareholders by the bailout, which, by the way, had the bailout not happened, that company would not exist right now. But they got their money. They used their money. They saved the company. They paid the money back, to be fair.
Right.
And in my opinion, they're trying to get more money now.
Well,
Now, I think that, and I was saying this earlier, I think it was just a trial balloon, just to see if people would stand for it, because people stood for them crashing the economy, and then people stood by while we bailed them out. They probably thought, well, we could just squeeze a little bit more out of the people and sue them. And then when there was enough outrage, finally – they said, you know what? That was our ex-CEO's idea. That wasn't our idea. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Angela. So, well, first of all, I think as of right now, the 12th of January, they have decided not to join that lawsuit. Well, first of all, right? You guys all remember when we bailed them out, and what kind of havoc that actually.
Well,
right?
Here's what Elizabeth Warren said in the New York Times. AIG's reckless bets nearly crashed our entire economy. Taxpayers across this country saved AIG from ruin,
right.
And it would be outrageous for this company to turn around and sue the federal government because they think the deal wasn't generous enough.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
even today, this is interesting. The government provides an ongoing stealth bailout, propping up AIG with special tax breaks that Congress should stop.
Yeah.
AIG should thank American taxpayers, their ads do, right, for their help, not bite the hand that fed them for helping them out in a crisis.
Right.
So, I mean, Melvin, I think it's important that you tell everybody what AIG did with $182 billion.
The minute we gave them that money back in 2008, they went on a $400,000 retreat for all of their top management to reward them for a job well done. A job well done, by the way, which crashed the economy.
Well, okay.
It's not like a broken record.
All right. Okay. Well, let's. Okay. First thing, let me talk about this. Okay. I don't think I'm an idiot, right?
No, you're not.
But the AIG got to have some kind of marketing or PR department that says, well, wait a minute, everybody already hate us, before the bailout. And then, you can argue that whether the bailout is right or wrong. That's not what we're talking about here. It happened. It already happened. So it's beyond right or wrong. It already happened. And then the president and, the president and his people got into a lot of trouble for doing that. Or not a lot of trouble, but, got into a whole bunch of political hell for bailing them out, right? So AIG is tremendously unpopular, hated. And, I don't know how do people like soccer? There's, I think Manchester United actually have a jersey that says AIG.
Yeah,
they do?
I think so.
I don't know. Well, that's how, over there, that's how they do, right? The sponsor, they put logos on the jerseys.
Well, yeah,
right?
all of soccer is like that.
Right, but
it's emblazoned on the front of the jersey.
Right. So I don't even want to wear that,
No.
So AIG is a really damaged brand. And then somebody have somebody actually says, "Oh, you know what? Now that we got this money, we should do this little conference and vacation thing."
No matter
when somebody inside AIG, we're not counting on them to be a charitable organization now.
Far from it.
Right? But
Right.
when somebody in that organization actually says, "You know what, maybe we should just have our conference at the at the Ellensburg Motel 6.
Well, here's the thing. Now, I think you know what you're right on. But it wasn't even a conference. It was a big fat thank you for a job well done to everybody.
Right.
And 700, or I'm sorry,
$400,000. But just went on that week, like a 2-day weekend trip. Everybody get your back rubbed and your feet rubbed, and the little fish to bite the dead skin off your feet or whatever. And everyone just went and did that for the weekend. Bang up job, guys. Great year. Next year is going to be even better. And we were in the crapper.
I'm just yeah. Go ahead,
okay,
Angela.
And they gave 7-figure bonuses.
Yep.
To those guys.
Well,
Who put and here's the fallout. This is why they're so tone deaf. I mean, this is a group of people who are completely tone deaf to what else is going on in the world right around them, because. Okay, the subprime mortgage market grew almost 1.5 trillion by the time they were bailed out.
Yes.
And over the past 4 years, nearly 4 million families lost their homes. Okay, so these guys are partying like it's 1999 and
partying like the 1920s.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, a little reference to Prince there. And people 4 million people lost their homes. Okay. Yeah. They blew the mortgage crisis up.
Let's drive around Spokane. They are like houses that have nobody lived there for multiple years.
Well, and Portland,
Spokane,
Las Vegas,
Spokane is nothing. Yeah. Go to Las Vegas, go to LA.
Las Vegas is the worst. They're actually knocking down houses that were only built 4 and 5 years ago because people took over the houses. They started squatting in the houses in Vegas, and they're knocking these $1 million houses down because nobody can buy them, and people have already squatted in them and ruined them. I mean, the trail of destruction left in the wake of arrogance and ignorance is absolutely mind blowing. Right. But they don't care about their name or the way they look, because they've got plenty of lobbyists that are going to get them whatever the hell they want in Washington. And we, as long as they give us bread and circus, we're not going to hold them accountable.
Right.
And circuses, yep.
Well, I just a person that have some experience in business, just looking into this, none of it makes sense. Because I know, Melvin, you were saying that whether they, this whole lawsuit thing, it might be a trial balloon, right? I have to disagree with you there, because I don't really buy that. There must be something else going on, because it doesn't make any sense, even though a hint of this, when this thing happens, right? When this ex-CEO says we're going to sue the government, somebody inside that company have any sense need to say we need to distance ourselves from this right away. We're not going to slam the door. We're not even going to think about it. That's ridiculous. They should just come out and say that's ridiculous.
Well, but they didn't. When they said that that CEO came to them, they announced it, and then after there was outrage, they said we're not going to do it. So it was a trial balloon, because he could have came to them, and they could have came out and said our ex CEO came to us today, and we're totally not doing this thing. But when it went out to the media, they were on board with it. Only after the severe backlash did they go, we're not on board with it.
No,
right.
it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, there might be. I mean,
you know what the problem is? The problem is some people have too much money, and to them, enough is never enough. If I may, before we beat the AIG thing too much, I would like to throw out the hashtag the No Billionaires campaign.
Right,
And
right.
here's what it is. Now, this was started about a week to a week and a half ago by Tom Hartman. And now, these hashtags get started all the time, and they don't generally catch on all that well. But this one did because Fox News began tearing him apart. Now, the idea is a wealth tax, not an income tax, a wealth tax for anybody that owns more than $1 billion. Hey, you can have 999,999,000, all the money you want, as long as it's not over $1 billion. Anything over $1 billion,
you're going to get taxed on.
There's a 100% tax on, because you don't need more money at that point. Now, the 400 richest people in America are all billionaires, the 400 richest, and they have more money than the 150 million at the bottom. And it's, well, if you listen to the conservatives, they will tell you, well, we need to let them have that money because they're investing it and they're creating jobs. And actually, no, according to the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch and all of his billionaire buddies,
Right.
These American companies are sitting on top of $5 trillion worth of money, and they're not spending any of it. And when they do decide to peel off a few billions, they spend it overseas. They don't spend it here.
Right.
So the idea, I mean, they're hoarding money. When people hoard anything, garbage, newspaper, cats, we call them nuts.
They become very weird.
Exactly. But when they hoard cash, we call them successful. We call them job creators, which is an absolute non-starter. It doesn't even make any sense.
Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angela.
Trickle down fairy dust is what I've heard.
I mean, before anybody yell at us and call us like Marxist, communist, socialist, Leninist, Stalinist, right?
Right.
Before we do that, I don't think any of us. Well, there are a few of us, but I don't think very many of us on our side. And I feel bad about saying our side, but you know what I mean, right?
I do.
Are actually against capitalism per se. There are, a good society, things are working. There has to be a balance between things. There has to be a common sense, some kind of common sense that has to be at work. And right now, our system, there's certain things that are just beyond common sense. As in some of these companies, their behavior. I mean, the whole too big to fail, too big to be sued.
By the way, started with AIG.
Right, and then there are a couple of days ago, someone was talking about this company, this bank, huge bank, HSBC, which I don't know if everybody actually know that, but
I've not heard of them.
It's actually stand for Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank Corporation.
Okay.
But I think if they say Hong Kong and Shanghai, that's going to freak a lot of people out. So they just run around with the acronym HSBC, right? They are fined, I think, $1.5 billion for funneling, doing money laundering for terrorist group organizations, etc.
Oh, okay.
But they are too big to be sued.
What?
And I think
What?
too big to
How
fail.
does that work?
Yeah, I have no idea how it works. I think funny thing too, because I think the best coverage on this thing, again, is at the Daily Show.
Mm-hmm.
So common sense is telling me that too big to fail and too big to be sued. It's insane. So they can behave however they want to behave now. So there has to be a point that collectively we say, wait a minute, it's okay. Profit is fine, but right now it's just too crazy. It's so crazy. How much enough? How much is enough? Some of these companies that have, so much money, and then they can throw that around, to do this and to do that. That's just not a good approach to a good and well balanced society. Any thoughts, anybody?
Well, absolutely, and they can't see beyond themselves, and I see it. And Angela, you were mentioning mental illness, and I would not fault you in the least for now launching into mental illness. Is they're just hoarding money. They've got enough. If they take one of these billionaires like Sheldon Adelson, who made a name for himself in the most recent election by spending so much money on the election. He makes $5 million per day. he's not going to spend all that money in this lifetime or the next lifetime or the lifetime after that. And if he did try to spend it all in this lifetime, he'd be so surrounded by crap.
We can't even get into a conversation in terms of whether this is right or wrong, because I don't think this is a right or wrong thing.
Right.
I think it's a cultural illness.
Right.
Okay, so you want to talk about mental illness?
Yeah.
This is like a cultural illness, and it's an illness. I don't know where it starts. I mean, maybe a psychiatrist or a psychologist could have a field day with this.
Yeah.
But okay, it reminds me. This conversation we're having reminds me, and I wish I could remember the film. But the film had Howard Zinn. Some comments from Howard Zinn, and it had
you can't be neutral on a moving train. Was that it?
No.
This
was a really long movie, and it was at Spiff. So here we go again, Kevin Spiff. It was a couple of years ago at the Spiff Festival, and it was an examination of libertarianism and where it actually comes from and where it has its roots, because a lot of libertarianism sounds, like we're the good guys, but there's a piece of it when I was watching this film that disturbed me so much, because the whole thing centers on the free market and the free market doing what it's going to do. So like AIG, in a free market situation, they would have been allowed to fail.
Yep.
For example.
Right.
That's
okay.
correct.
Right.
Okay. But the fact that we didn't allow them to fail shows that we aren't exactly a free market, which in a lot of ways is a good thing, because if you completely go by capitalism and free market policy, there are people who will never be able to participate in the free market, and they are irrelevant. And once you start examining this idea from that standpoint, you realize that there's something really wrong with this mindset.
Right.
And, the Tea Party had this mindset when they first started putting things together. Just let, capitalism be capitalism and quit taking care of these people who are needing us to take care of them, and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But there's something that just doesn't make sense in this whole thing,
Well, and you know what? I would agree with you, and I like the fact that Angela said, cultural, because it kind of is. The idea of libertarianism is you don't see outside yourself. You're the most important thing in the world. I saw a political cartoon the other day online, and it showed a bunch of people, floating dead in a public swimming pool, and it showed a lifeguard just sitting there looking at them all, and it said, well, he's a libertarian lifeguard, and that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the idea. They really, it's themselves, and then that's it. Anything outside of themselves is really just kind of, in their way.
Right.
It's very selfish, and so that kind of idea, then that's what's happening, with the money. They go, well, I've got mine. Yeah, you're starving. So what? I've got mine. And then they go to Washington. They buy a couple congressmen, and they continue to get more of it. And enough is never enough.
Right. So but this whole thing, just in terms of publicity, in terms of business, that just doesn't make sense to me. Because AIG is so damaged right now. I mean, it was damaged before. But now it's just like nobody. I don't want to comment directly, with this. I don't want to comment directly on AIG because they have more lawyers than I do. But anything compared to zero is a lot, right?
Oh, I'll comment.
But it's like,
I'll chime right in.
Right.
I just don't think they're acting out of character at all.
But you know what? If
at
there's
this point in time, they are acting in character. This is the way they were acting before they were bailed out.
Right.
They were turning the mortgage market upside down and betting on loans to fail.
Right.
So I mean, they were not only making loans, but they were betting on the loans to fail. Is that Do I have that correct?
No,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah, they absolutely. So if the loans worked out, they made money. If the loans failed, they made money.
They made more
up or
money.
down, they made money no matter what. They took
So
they bet. Yeah, they actually bet against their own stuff.
Yeah.
so this is a group of people who are so damaged anyway, as far as Kevin, what you're suggesting about a conscience.
What I'm actually trying to say is, they are a company that sell insurance policies, insurance products. Okay, let me make an
Right.
analogy. If there's a restaurant out there that consistently have like roaches the size of cats running
Right.
around, like it's like after the apocalypse, right? You're not going back to that restaurant, right?
Right.
So same thing, right? I'm not going to say you think about what I'm trying to say here, but you're not going back there, and the brand is so damaged now. You're not going back there. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Unless they have and words get around. I think the whole world, pretty much the entire world, think that AIG is something that we shouldn't touch.
Mm-hmm.
It should be over for them, right? Unless they have a deal with the Romulan government. That was a Star Trek joke.
Romulan, I like that.
Right? Unless they have have a connection from somewhere other than Earth, they are finished. But apparently they are not.
They're not because they own a lot of Congress critters. If I may launch into this.
Yeah.
Have you guys taken a look at the PPP polls yet on Congress?
Yeah, it's pretty low, I think.
Oh no, it gets way better now. PPP, the public policy polling, publicpolicypolling.com always does these really great and fun polls, but they're actually one of the most accurate polls out there. So here's the thing. They mentioned, and you mentioned cockroaches a minute ago, and this is what got me thinking about it, is they asked, would you prefer Congress or this? So here
Head
are
lice was in there, wasn't it?
correct. Here are things that are more popular than Congress. The NFL replacement refs beat Congress 29-56. Head lice is more popular than Congress.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
The rock band Nickelback, colonoscopies, carnies, traffic jams are more popular than Congress. Now, here are the things that Congress did beat. Congress did beat telemarketers, not by much, but they beat them. They beat the Ebola virus, but they, once again, not by much.
Okay.
They beat playground bullies, and they beat meth labs. People like Congress more than meth labs. And gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is they beat
Apparently.
gonorrhea. So yay on them for beating gonorrhea, but they didn't beat
At
Brussels
least we have a
sprouts.
cure for gonorrhea.
They didn't beat Brussels sprouts or used car salesmen. Those things are more popular than Congress. They're overall right now. They're sitting at 9%. So
Brussels sprouts.
yeah. Brussels sprouts are more popular than Congress. Congress gets a 23% on that, and Brussels sprouts gets 69%.
Huh.
Genghis Khan gets a 41, and Congress gets a 37.
Well, yeah. That's hard to believe, right?
That's just kind of when they match them up. Well, they're at an all-time low for approval ratings. And
The Kardashians.
The Kardashians.
Where were they in there? The Kardashians were in there.
They're more popular than the Kardashians, 45-29.
Right.
Ah,
So, if we want to wrap up this AIG thing, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the thing to watch is to number one, watch the fallout. I think everybody. I will be interested to see, when quarterly or whenever they report how their business is doing. AIG as a company, how it's doing, how much money it's earned, are they in the red? I would be very interested to see the next 2 quarters how they do. If they still are really profit, have a lot of profit, so it doesn't make any sense to me. Number one.
I know.
but they did. They made a profit.
So the other thing is, now that we are sure that Elizabeth Warren is going to be on the banking committee.
Yep. Right.
And it would be really interesting to see, once the Senate, once the Congress come back into full swing, see what kind of new policies or what kinds of I don't want to use the word, but whatever. What kind of control we're going to see that we're put in place to keep ridiculous occurrence like this going?
Yeah.
Because this is ridiculous. It's like it's like you nurse something back to health and then it come back and bite your arm off, or at least it tries to. So,
yeah.
Well,
there's an old song about this. You knew I was a snake before you took me in.
Right.
That's
What
right.
was that song?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it right now.
Evil woman, or anyway.
Well, she finds the snake and the snake is in.
And she nurses it back to.
She nurses it back to health, and then when she nurses it back to health, then it bites her, and as she's dying, she looks at the snake and she says, "I nursed you back to health." He goes, "Yeah, but you knew I was a snake
before you took me in."
You took me in.
Right, and for our listeners in Hong Kong, I might be wrong on this, but I think AIG doesn't in Hong Kong doesn't exist as AIG, but they have they have some other names locally in all the parts of the world. They it's one big giant company, right? But they have little satellite companies here and there with a different name. So check it out if you want to.
I want to, if I may, and I want to do it like this because I don't want to launch into too much of a discussion about this. I just want to say a few things about this because, and it's obviously it's about guns, and the reason I don't want to say too much about it is because, as of late, obviously through the social media and the the regular media, so much of
wait, hold on. We are officially changing topics now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me officially AIG done. Go.
Done. Burn in hell.
And Melvin, you're going to give me a great segue.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well,
go ahead, Melvin.
Yeah.
All right. So, and like I said, I don't want to do too much discussion on this because too much has already been said. Even on this show, too much has been said. But recently, in the Selwood neighborhood of Portland, Oregon, two men were walking out in the daylight with assault weapons strapped to their backs, and obviously hundreds of calls came into 911. And a local school was locked down. And when the police found them, they go, "What in the hell are you doing?" They said, "We're educating people about guns." In Texas recently, a man walked into his child's elementary school, walked in the front door and said, "I've got a gun and I'm going to kill everybody." He didn't have a gun, but he said that he was there just testing everybody's security. Here's the thing, and a lot of people are doing a lot of dumb things right now because of what's been happening recently with gun violence. We just had a school shooting earlier this week. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get some backlash on this, and that I don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. Get us in trouble. Go ahead.
I don't need a gun to protect myself. When they talk to just about anybody who's a defender, as they say, of the Second Amendment, they say, "Well, I need a gun to protect myself." Here's the thing. Melvin, don't live in fear that anything's going to happen to me, and I don't need a gun to protect myself. Those who are saying that they need guns to protect themselves, whether they want to admit it or not, they live in constant fear. So when they say, "I need a gun to protect myself against the government because the government is going to come after me," what you're really saying is you're afraid of the military that you have allowed to grow out of control. Because trust me, no matter how many guns you stockpile, you're not going to protect yourself if the government, as you call it, comes after you. You're afraid of everything up to and including your own shadow, and anything that leaves you in that kind of paralyzing fear owns you and controls you. So if you're that afraid, then you need to realize that you are now owned by that which makes you afraid. I grew up in a lot of really urban neighborhoods with a lot of crime, a lot of terrible things happening around me. I'd hear gunshots outside at night. I would see helicopters flying by my window, shining down the spotlight. I would hear gunshots. I grew up in some of the nastiest neighborhoods that you can imagine because we were incredibly poor. We were on welfare. We didn't have birthdays or Christmas. That's all in the past, obviously, now. But even with that, I don't live in constant fear.
Okay.
And I realize that by saying that, I'm gonna piss a lot of people
No,
off.
I
But let me finish by saying I don't need a gun to protect myself. It's not that bad things aren't going to happen to me. They could happen to me. I could get off this mic right now and be shot. But I don't live in constant fear that it's going to happen.
Well, I think we kind of cover that fear factor thing, and but I think our listeners, I'm sure our listeners here in the U.S. Feel exactly how we feel, but listeners from around the world, you can actually gauge what's happening in this show, and kind of see through what's happening on this show, and kind of gauge what we feel like in the U.S. today. Because we did 3 shows already,
yes,
and within a month, a little bit less than a month, but it doesn't matter. All 3 shows, I think gun control is, if not the main topic, somebody would bring it up.
Yeah.
So I think you can tell. You can tell this thing is just bugging the hell out of everybody right now, whether or not whichever side of the argument you're on.
Down on, right.
And this thing is not going away anytime soon because, like you said,
there's shooting this week.
Right, there's another one in California.
The school shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
So this thing is not going away, and really, which is sad. And everybody is, I hate to say this, but everybody is just, we can have arguments all we want, but the reality is everyone is either waiting or fearing when they turn on the TV, there will be another breaking news. And the ironic thing is when Vice President Biden was having the meeting. Do you guys know a couple of days ago when he's having a meeting with the NRA and a couple of... Oh, by the way, the NRA doesn't like, what the vice president says during the meeting. Well, I guess might be the vice president is doing something nice, doing something right? But anyway, that's a tangent. But the ironic thing is, I'm pretty sure if you Google or you go to YouTube, you'll see it. Right when CNN was covering that, the vice president's meeting, right when that's happening, breaking news, the shooting in California.
Yes.
While he's sitting down with them, that was
insane.
It was insane, and of course they don't like what Biden is saying because Biden's solution doesn't include more guns.
Yeah, and now we have, I know a lot of people on our side do check Huffington Post from time to time, which is, they we need to devote a show to Huffington Post because they are a good source, but a lot of times I really have a lot of disagreement about what they do. But that's a separate story. But I don't think this thing is only on Huffington Post. I think it's all over the place. It's this quote unquote gun instructor down in Tennessee. He was threatening. He was like. He was, first of all, we have multiple of this happening the past week, right? We have Alex Jones going nuts on CNN. Is it
Piers
CNN?
Morgan's show.
And then we have some other gun activist or gun organization head just going totally berserk on another show. I forgot what show it is, but it doesn't matter. And then
it was a local news broadcast.
Yeah, and then we got this guy down in Tennessee, right? I don't think we can argue with people who have that kind of mentality. I mean, the argument is over. If they come out and says, okay, I'm going to shoot somebody if they want to take my guns away, I think how can I even talk to you? You have a gun. How can I even talk to you? Why would I want to have a conversation with you? You're holding a gun.
I've never.
Is this the guy who said there's going to be a civil war and he doesn't mind firing the first shot?
I'm sure there are more than one guy who's saying that, but. Yeah, but I don't know how.
Made me sick.
Right, I don't know how this is going to end, but I'm going to stand by what I said. Gun control is really not gun control until the numbers of weapons actually go down.
Yes.
There's no other way to do it, and how we do it is the key, right? But yeah, I don't know how the story, this little, I don't know how this book is going to end. and I'm a little afraid what we need to go through before what we need to go through before it ends.
This is a great segue.
Right. Go ahead, Angela.
Go ahead, Angela.
Yeah.
This is a great segue because I think one of the things, two of the things we're going to have to address in this country is education, and I'm talking about public schools.
Right.
Okay, and most of us here in this little group are connected one way or another with public schools.
Right.
Okay, and we know what we're talking about, and funding for some very important programs, counseling being at the top of my list when I'm saying this, have been cut. Okay, I'm saying this in the context of the shooting in California this week, which was all about bullying. If the kid with the gun had actually had somebody he could talk to who could talk him through this, nobody would have been shot.
Right.
The reason I can say that with confidence is because the guy who talked him down did not have a gun. That teacher was not armed. Okay, he needed to talk to somebody. He needed somebody to actually hear him, what he was saying. Okay, we're lacking that in this country. There are a lot of people walking around out there with some big mental illnesses, and they're not being addressed, at least addressed in any meaningful way. Okay, so let's go to Connecticut for a second. The guy who shot 20 kids had some real mental illness, and after the fact, there were several people who came out and said, my son is similarly violent, and I have tried everything I can to deal with him. And in fact, I think there was somebody who came out with a blog using the shooter's name and saying, I am his mother, because her son is so similar to to the shooter in Connecticut. Yep. And what really comes out of this is there's nothing you can do with a kid like that. You can take them to a hospital. They can be in psychiatric care for a very limited amount of time, and there's no place else for you to put them. There's no place else for you to take them so that they get ongoing help in this country. Okay? That's really sad. Yeah. Okay, and with that in mind, I have a news item from Spokane.
Right.
Okay,
Launch into it, sister.
I'm not going to tell you the guy's name, but on Tuesday of this past week, a tenant and his girlfriend in a Brown's Addition apartment said they woke up and they found a man naked outside their apartment. His clothing was outside the apartment, and the apartment had been ransacked. So the tenant said, okay, here's your clothes. Sorry. And the guy, fondling himself, entered the apartment and tried to hug the tenant, according to
bad news.
They pushed him outside and locked the door. And he was clothed when people found him in the stairwell. Okay, now this is a titillating story. I mean, the lead into this story in the paper, it's, Spokane police officers believe they nabbed a naked burglar. I mean, that's hilarious, right? From the outside, it's hilarious. This man had been released a few days previously from prison after serving time for an assault.
Right.
And they think he may be the same guy who was going around on the South Hill with his pants pulled down to his ankles and knocking on people's doors and trying to get in. So,
well, obviously something is wrong there.
There's something wrong. Okay, and it's mental illness.
Right.
It's mental illness. I mean, this guy wasn't even assaulting anyone, unless you want to call a hug, assault.
Right.
I mean, okay. He had in his possession the woman's belt for whatever reason. Okay. I mean, it's a really odd, quirky story. Only would make the headlines in Spokane, probably. Right. But I think the bigger point is we have mental illness big time in this country. Okay. So Kevin, the other night you sent on Facebook a story of a woman. Is Pennsylvania the correct state? She went to her daughter's soccer game, proudly packing heat on her hip.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that woman.
Okay. Her husband, okay, this would be considered a responsible gun-owning family, by the way. He's a former parole officer, well-trained with munitions. Okay. 3 days later, after that incident, what happens? They have a domestic dispute. He kills her in front of their 3 children and then kills himself. And their children, 10, 6, and 2, run from the house screaming. Okay, you don't think we have some mental illness going on here?
Yeah.
We do.
Kevin, you encapsulated it the other day in a way that really, I mean, it was a really simple statement you made, but when you said it,
what did I say?
With the whole gun debate, I said, well, you know, I said I'm not going to have this debate with people because I'm so sick of it. And you said, you know what? There's no debate. A room without a gun in it is a safer room. And I went, you know what? No, you probably just threw that out there without even thinking about it. And I go,
no,
yeah,
actually,
otherwise these two would have probably just had a domestic dispute. They might have smacked each other around a little bit, but they'd both be alive today. A room without a gun is safer.
Yeah, so this is going to be unfortunately, I think this is we're not going to solve this. Even now that they are, you know, that the president and vice president, the president was really going to do something, but this is not.
He may do it by executive order.
But see, even that, I mean, there will be a storm.
Hey,
but George Herbert Walker Bush,
yes,
did a similar executive order during his term of office. Yeah. No backlash on that one.
Well, but there is a difference, right? And we know we all know what that difference is.
Yes, well, he was a Republican.
With a Republican Congress, right?
Right.
That's the difference.
So I think we probably need to see what's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. You know, what kind of move the president is going to make executively, and then how this country is going to respond. But, you know, it has to be, if people from all around the world looking at us, they must think we are just insane.
Yep. Well, the thing that we're going to have to address is making everything safer in the meantime. So, you know, an assault ban weapon, from the standpoint that at least it would keep a whole lot of people from being killed at one time.
Right.
To me makes sense, because I still have to get my head around who needs to own that kind of weaponry. Right. Really, who needs to own it?
I mean, to be frank, like every day, it's more fear, right? But you know,
it's like what Melvin said about those 2 guys in Portland.
Right. So I'm so afraid to turn on the TV and says, "Oh, there's another one."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But then we have to figure out, why do we have a culture with so much fear in it and mental illness that's going completely ignored? You know, because a lot of these things that are happening seem to me to be a final cry for help. You know, I'll do this and I'll take a whole bunch of people with me. That's my way of saying I needed help and didn't get any. I don't know.
Right.
You know, we're gonna have to deal with some of that.
Right. Right.
So, do we want to launch into
something
fun?
On this line, let me say one thing. There's and this is not a new book, but there's a book by Barry Glassner. Hopefully, I'm saying his name right. Barry, last name spelled Glassner. The book is the name of the book is The Culture of Fear, and this is a really good study in terms of why we are in this predicament as we are. But, you know, I'm not going to say more on that. But, you know, just Google or go to Amazon and then plunge in The Culture of Fear. And he's actually on, I think he's actually interviewed by Michael Moore in Bowling for Columbine. So, anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Are we going to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, so we're gonna I guess, man, it's like every time we get to these like really heavy stuff, we got AIG, and then we go back to this whole gun control thing again. So, you know, last time we picked movies. This time, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Spokane, Washington.
Oh, no, why?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Spokane, Washington has been rated by Advocate Magazine as the third gayest city in the United States.
What?
Yes, Spokane.
Now, gay friendly, right?
No, gayest. Third
Wow.
gayest. Okay. Now, that may be interpreted as gay friendly because I don't want you to think that this is per capita. Okay. But there were 2 other Washington cities that made the top 5.
Wow.
Go at it, girl.
Okay. Now, Seattle's 5.
That makes sense.
No, hold on. Spokane's ahead of Seattle. Wow.
Spokane is 3, Seattle's 5. Now, okay, I just want, and people in Hong Kong may not know about the fact that we just had a proposition go through legalizing gay marriage in the state of Washington. And during that whole election process, there were people on the west side of this state, so Seattle area, saying it's those people in eastern Washington who are keeping this from passing.
Well, actually, if you check
what?
Well, if you check the number, that they have a point because they're really, I mean, it's just like everything else, right? The counties that voted yes on this, the referendum 74.
Right.
Again, it's the same couple, like Pierce and King, and maybe, but that's it. Or maybe the island, and those are the same several Snohomish. Those are the same several counties that drag us out of, the 19th century.
Spokane, due to its proximity to Idaho, is really conservative. So that means it has a lot of gay people. That actually makes total sense to me.
Well, now, okay. Now I want you to listen to this. First of all, I want you both to guess number 1 city.
Number 1 gayest city is going to be Ellensburg.
Nope.
I'm just guessing Washington cities. Kevin?
I don't know. Tacoma?
Tacoma.
Really?
Tacoma.
Well,
Hell
okay.
Yeah,
well, first of all,
Kevin, you nailed it.
Well, first of all, we normally don't think of Tacoma as a city. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my buddies in Tacoma, but it's always like Seattle, Tacoma. Seattle is like the main thing, and Tacoma is like,
But,
right.
Now Portland didn't make the top 10.
That's so weird.
But Eugene did.
Eugene did?
Eugene is number 7.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. Now, Advocate bases these rankings based on how many openly gay representatives the city has at local, state, and federal levels. Whether gay marriage is legal, and in this state, we could bet that we'd have 3 cities. Okay. Let's see. How many companies on the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's Corporate Equality Index are based in the city? Okay. Whether the city has good shopping, roller derby leagues, protection for people who are transgender, gay rugby teams, bisexual resource groups, and Spokane earned most of its points through being in a state that recognizes gay marriage and has 7 openly gay representatives, but it picked up extra points for its hosting of the Spokane Pride Parade, the Rainbow Festival every year, throughout Spokane, and the roller derby. Okay.
And yet Dempsey's still closed. It's so weird.
But that is, you know what, I have to say, this is kind of this ranking is, there's something not so accurate about it, because we live here.
Yes.
We know what's up. Yeah. So I don't think that study is accurate, but I don't know how they, kind of, slice and dice the data and how they're going to judge it. But, I mean, when you say, I even hate to say this, the gayest city in America, right? Right away.
It was hilarious, the wording.
Yeah, right away you left your heart in San Francisco.
Exactly.
But
exactly. And San Francisco's not in the top 10.
That's pretty ridiculous.
But okay. here's how they're basing it. I mean, it's how you parse it. It's how you look at it.
Right.
It's an interesting place for Spokane to be.
Right.
And the interesting part for me is that it's what they're looking at is how much support has been developed for the LGBT community.
Right, which is good news.
Which is really good news. And I think maybe they're looking at it from the standpoint that, okay, San Francisco sort of rests on its laurels. Some of the other places that have been gay-friendly rest on their laurels. But Spokane suddenly is gay-friendly.
Right. Which is, there's a lot of hope because as a state collectively, yes, Spokane County, we're still a little behind. I think that the R74, the vote came out 55-45 or something. But, I mean, there's then, the half full, half empty. Well, maybe, but we do have that 45% of the people voted for it. So there's something to work on. I know for sure that we do have a sizable LGBT community here.
Right.
So there are people here who cares. So I think there is a lot of hope.
It's a piece that surprised me.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. But in a nice way. How nice.
Right. So. Okay, so we're at, my gosh, we are like more than an hour already. So,
right, kids.
Any closing thought? What we should...
Real quick, let's do like this. Kevin, I want to hear a quick closing thought from you. Angela, I want to hear one from you, and then I will take final word. Kevin, you're up.
Right. I think the next week is going to be, the one thing that we didn't talk about is the 1 trillion coin. The platinum coin, the $1 trillion coin that I think today just came out. The White House says, no, we're not going to do that. But I think, just for me, because this thing really bugs the hell out of me. So it will be interesting to see how this gun control thing go in the next week. And I really hope there's something concrete coming out of this administration. And I know, everybody should keep an eye on what the reaction is like on the other side. But, I just want everybody to pay attention to what's coming out of the White House on that front. So go ahead, Angela.
Actually, I think it's a moment for this president and his administration to make a big statement.
Right.
Something that's heard around the world.
Legacy.
And I'm hoping that he actually does move towards executive order because it may be the one action he can take he's allowed to do this. And there may be challenges to it. And I'm ready to see this thing get challenged.
Great. Melvin.
And I will go ahead and close out the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your continued support. We are the fire that you can't put out. We're reasonable people, and we will prevail. And my name is Melvin. With me is Kevin and Angela. Right. And I don't need a gun to protect myself.
Yes, but you do need a new mic. See you later.
See you later. Perfect.